I never liked you from the start. Just divorce him already. I'm cutting ties with you. Her words were like daggers in my heart. Who would have thought my beloved husband's mother would say something like this to me? I tried multiple times to build a good relationship with her, but she just trampled all over my efforts. Fine, two can play that game. You want to cut family ties? I will gladly oblige. My name is Carolyn Sloper, 28 years old. After college, I landed a job in a corporate office. I left the company I had been with for several years 2 months ago. Taking marriage as the turning point, I met Albert, who's associated with one of our company's clients when I was 26. We dated for 2 years, and last month we finally got married. I quit my job 2 months ago right after we tied the knot to become a housewife, all because Albert wanted me to. When he proposed, he also made this request.
Hey, Carolyn, would you mind staying home after we get married?
You mean become a housewife?
Yeah, I can handle the finances. I just want you to take care of home because I'm terrible at chores.
Are you sure? Really sure?
That's what I want, Carolyn. I'll make sure you won't have to struggle.
Okay, if you're saying all this, I'll become a housewife. After this journey, I had quit my job, so here I am, about a month into our marriage, engrossed in my daily household chores. We're living in a high-rise apartment where I used to live alone. My mom owns this property and gave me one of the units when I started working. She inherited a portfolio of real estate properties from her parents, who passed away a few years ago. Growing up, my family and I lived in regular apartment. These days, mom and dad have moved into a high-rise condo that was passed down from my grandparents. When Albert and I were discussing where we should live, I was honestly open to moving somewhere else. However, Albert suggested,
why pay rent if we don't have to?
So he moved into the room I had been living in. Since Albert just moved into my old place, married life didn't feel all that new to me. Still, I feel more than enough happiness just spending every day with Albert, whom I love so much. I prepare balanced meals for him and tidy up the place awaiting his return. Managing everything alone from shopping to cleaning is not easy, yet I've been doing my best for Albert. Then one day, as usual, I saw Albert up and was cleaning up after breakfast. Even though it was only 8:30 in the morning, the intercom rang. Who could it be at this hour? I hadn't ordered anything, so I was puzzled. I checked the monitor, and there she was, my mother-in-law, Gina. What? Gina? I blurted out loud, shocked by the unexpected visitor. Then, as if she heard me, she began talking to me through the intercom. Carolyn, you're there. Aren't you? Open up, will you? Do you hear me? I came all this way in the heat. Let me in. I know you're there. Hurry up. Gina's voice got louder and her face looked increasingly stern. Frightened, I quickly unlocked the main entrance. A few minutes later, the doorbell rang again. Open the door. It's me. She yelled. I hurried to the doorway and opened the door. The moment Gina entered my field of vision, she began speaking, her eyes furrowed. Carolyn, how long do you intend to keep me waiting? I came all this way in the heat for you. Sorry, Gina. I didn't know you were coming today. I was a bit surprised. What's with that tone? Sounds like you were inconvenienced by my sudden arrival. No, not at all. I just wish you would let me know so I could have prepared something special for your visit. Huh? You should always be prepared for visitors. Don't you know that, being a housewife? I'm sorry? The moment she stepped into the doorway, Gina began lecturing me. I felt scolded as if I had made some terrible mistake. Ignoring my apology, Gina walked past me and headed straight for the living room. She sat deeply into the sofa and started surveying the room as if judging its worth. Just as I braced for another round of criticism, she let out a theatrical sigh and addressed me. Carolyn, what on earth is going on with this room? What do you mean, what's going on? I mean, look at this place. Haven't you cleaned? There's dust on the furniture. I'm sorry, I was just finishing up breakfast. I was planning to clean right after. Gina glared at me sharply after I explained myself. She then smirked mockingly and shot back. Sure, you can say anything you want. Are you trying to make yourself look better? You're really unbearable. That's not what I'm trying to do. I usually do things in this order. Spare me the excuses. I've always wondered, why did Albert ever marry someone like you? What? Someone as wonderful as Albert could have married a much better woman. What a shame. Caught off guard by her brazen words, I was speechless. The fact that such comments were coming from my mother-in-law made my heart sink. Gina glanced at me, who stood still and sighed again. She then started inspecting the house. For about an hour, Gina went around our living room and kitchen complaining about my lack of taste in furniture and how dare you serve Albert make-ahead meals. In the end, she even criticized what I was wearing that day. That outfit is just a bait for men while shopping. And left. I was simply wearing a sleeveless shirt with small laces and skinny jeans. It was a straightforward outfit and I wasn't trying to attract anyone's attention. Still, Gina seemed determined to find fault with me. Since that day, she started visiting more frequently without even notifying me. Roughly 3 to 4 days a week, sometimes even 6 days a week, she would come to our high-rise condo just to nitpick and lecture me. Days like these continued for about a month and my mental stamina was wearing thin. I don't know if I can take much more of this. Realizing this, I decided to confide in Albert before I completely break down. I took the opportunity to bring it up as he returned from work and began eating dinner. So, Albert, about Gina?
Yeah, what happened with Mom?
Well, you know how I told you she's been coming by a lot lately? I want to talk about that.
Why the long face? Did you have a fight with Mom?
It's not a fight per se, but I found myself at a loss for words. After all, Gina is his mother. No one likes to hear their own mother criticized, not even Albert. Taking a deep breath, I finally decide to speak my mind. Look, Albert, I hate to bring this up, but can you ask Gina to stop coming over, or at least not as often?
What are you talking about? Gina comes over specifically to help out, doesn't she? She said she's been assisting with the chores around the house.
Helping with chores? That's not it at all. She's constantly nitpicking and criticizing me. It's really becoming a problem.
Criticizing? Nitpicking my mom?
Yes, exactly. Please, Albert, it's really getting to me. Ever since Gina started coming around, every day has been a struggle. I plead desperately, hoping he'll understand. My eyes start to well up with tears. Surely, Albert of all people will get it, but Albert quickly proves me wrong.
Wow, how can you even say that?
What? Albert?
Gina is spending her own money on travel just to help lighten your load, and you don't feel the least bit guilty?
Wait. That's not it. She's not helping with chores or anything.
Still going on, huh? You're just treating my mom as an annoyance. I never thought you'd be so awful, Carolyn.
I can't believe it. Albert lets out a heavy sigh, puts down his utensils, and leaves the dinner table. He heads to the bedroom, each footstep ringing loud and clear. Left on the table are the half-eaten dishes we had started. Staring at them, my tears start to flow. But not because the meal was wasted. It hurt that he believed Gina's words over mine. From that point on, life became unbearable. Gina continued to visit regularly, and when I tried to pretend I wasn't home, it seemed Albert had already told her I was. She would ring the doorbell incessantly until I answered. Even the sound of the doorbell began to strike fear in me. I was at my breaking point. I can't stand this anymore. How much longer do I have to endure this? Albert won't help, and he takes Gina's side. At this rate, I will lose my place in my own home. How can I feel so suffocated in my own house? No matter how much I lament internally, nothing changes. If Albert won't help, I will have to find a way to cope on my own. I finally made my mind to confront Gina and ask her to stop dropping by unannounced. Sure enough, the next day Gina showed up without notice. Normally, I would just pretend not to be home, but today I decided to let her in immediately. I sat her down on the living room couch and cut to the chase. Gina, we need to talk. Perhaps surprised that I initiated the conversation, Gina replied, "What's up?" I didn't hold back and laid out my feelings. I think our relationship will only get worse if things keep going like this, so for the sake of our family, could you please limit your visits? What are you talking about? I can't take it anymore, Gina. Please stop coming here. Her face froze the moment I said that. But then, in an instant, she burst into mocking laughter. Is that what this is all about? You really are hopeless, aren't you? Didn't you even hear what I just said? Of course I did. How dare you get so uppity? You're only living here because of Albert. What? You're not suitable for Albert. Divorce him now. I'm cutting ties with you. At that moment, my anger hit a boiling point. That was it. I couldn't take it anymore. It became clear to me that I would never find common ground with Gina or Albert. As I sat there at a loss for words, Gina sneered at me. Looking at Gina, I slowly began to speak. Fine. If you feel that strongly about it, I'll divorce Albert. Oh, so obedient now, aren't we? This actually works out for me. I've been wanting to move into this high-rise with Albert. Into this place? Yes, exactly. I was surprised when Albert moved in here. I knew he was doing well, but I didn't realize just how much he was making. Apparently, Gina thinks this apartment is under Albert's name. I decided to set Gina straight as she was utterly confused. Gina? This place is under my name? Gina's smile freezes and her eyes widen. What? Ignoring her inability to catch up, I continue to deliver the harsh reality. Originally, my mom owned this high-rise condo. I had been living in this unit since before I was on my own. Albert moved in because there was no rent to pay. What? You're joking, right? This is Albert's place. That's where you're wrong. Oh, you wanted to cut ties, right? I'll make sure all of Albert's stuff gets sent back to his parents' house. Wait a minute. So, me living here with Albert that is not happening. If you're that desperate to stay, I can talk to my mom, but expect a rent of around $5,000 a month. $5,000? I can't afford that. I'm living on a pension. Well, that's too bad. As I said, I'm going to cut ties. Could you please leave immediately? I grab Gina's arm and head towards the doorway. Let go! Stop! She screams, but I don't listen. In the end, Gina clings to my feet at the doorway. Tears in her eyes, she starts to apologize. I'm sorry, Carolyn. I didn't know this was your place. And? I apologize. Please forgive me. Can we all just live here together? I don't want to go back to that old house and live just with my husband, please. Even in this mess, I felt disgusted by Gina's selfishness prioritizing her wants over her apology. Second, I said what needed to be said. Forgive you? Don't joke with me. You've been making my life miserable and now you're acting like nothing happened? You're not getting my forgiveness. Calm down, Carolyn. I was wrong. I'm sorry. What's the worth of your apology now? I don't feel a thing except for nausea. Take back your mama's boy. You two deserve each other. Screw you. I open the doorway, shove Gina out, and slam her bag after her. I lock the door with all my might. Later, I pack up all of Albert's stuff in boxes and arrange to have them shipped to his parents' home. I also get the locks changed immediately, ensuring Albert can't get back in. At first, Albert made a big fuss, but in reality, there was no issue. The room is in my name after all, and I own it. A few days later, a frantic call came from my father-in-law who had received the shipped belongings, and I explained the situation. Furious, my father-in-law gave Albert and Gina a good tongue lashing and made Albert write up divorce papers, a slick move on his part. At the same time, it seems my father-in-law also suggested divorce to Gina. Kicked out of their parents' home and penniless, Gina and Albert are now living in an apartment apparently. Before, they could get by on just Albert's income since there was no rent, but now it's a different story. Covering rent and the cost of living for both of them on Albert's salary alone is going to be tough. Well, I hope Albert and Gina struggle. They have more than earned it. As for me, I'm still living in this room. It's just that all of Albert's stuff is gone. It feels like I have simply returned to my single life. I have spoken to my former workplace and my return to work is settled. I plan on enjoying my solo life for some time to come.